Let me ask you a question. Which recent game have you played and thought that, man, this game is stupid and the developers should be ashamed of themselves? But let me tell you something. They are not ashamed. They want it to be bad so that they can make money. The current video game industry is plagued with these unfinished and terrible games that were made only to make money, not entertain people. Let me walk you through some of the finest examples of that. Call of Duty: Modern Warfare 3. The one released in 2023, not the old one. The old one is a classic OG. The current one is a stupid little... I don't want to say that word. For Activision Blizzard released a game, Call of Duty: Modern Warfare 3, at the maximum possible price for a game. And people were hyped like, yeah, the final game of the trilogy. Let's see what they're going to show us. And when they booted up the game, it was 226 gigabytes. No game has ever been this big, at least for the Call of Duty. But the best part is that they only used older assets. Yeah, they literally did nothing new. They made old assets for their campaign that were whooping for 3 hours. And these 3 hours of standby, if you are an expert Call of Duty gamer, you might appreciate in about 2 or 2.5 hours. Yeah, that's how big and massive the campaign for this game was. But what did Call of Duty feel like? Who even plays a game anymore? Just play multiplayer, boy. Well, why should I pay $70 for a multiplayer game that I already own? Warzone, mate. But even if you turn a blind eye to the length of the game, the story was just shit at best because they didn't do anything creative. It's just like, yeah, it's happening, but nothing to excite you. It's like the campaign was only a decoy to sell you $70 for an online game that you already own. But we all know that this game is going to sell millions of copies too. Every year, Call of Duty is the only franchise that can produce anything and sell millions of copies because it has a dedicated fan base that goes nuts for anything. I'm a Call of Duty fan, but I'll have to openly criticize the blatant hypocrisy of Activision. But yeah, I'm waiting for the next Call of Duty game that's worth at least 500 gigabytes. Do you remember when, at the time of release, people were mad like, hey, this is an unfinished game, but Studio was an OG, CD projects are real, they release more and more patches and updates and fix the overall game. Now it's one of the most played games right now. But you know, not all studios are like that, and not all games can be fixed, and this map game is the perfect example of that. Lord of the Rings, The Golem, the game, because everything is broken about this game. What do you want to fix? Just create a new game. Oh, wait, they can't do that because the studio is closed. Yeah, the studio literally closed. The one that made the game. Back earlier in the year, when this game was released, it was rated by an enormous number of people because they knew it. Like, why are you charging $60 for a game that is not even a proper game, at least for this generation, and there's nothing but bugs and more bugs? I refuse to believe that the budget of this game was anything more than probably $1 or $2 million, at best, and they probably made 10x of the fails of pre-order and die-hard Lord of the Rings fans. But if you are thinking Lord of the Rings is the only franchise that delivered stupid, unfinished games with 12 and 23, then you are wrong, because we have King Kong here. Yeah, you must have heard of this game, Skull Island Drive of Kong, because again, this game is getting bashed. Some are calling it the best game of all time, and some are calling it the worst game of all time. You can purchase this game. It's only worth $50, yeah. Pay $50 for a game that was made for 6-year-olds. Seriously, play this game and you're going to feel like, hey, am I playing some sort of bootleg Android game? I have a theory that the developers of this game paid 90% of their budget to make that trailer. To fool the fans by saying, hey, look at how cool our game is. Come buy a pre-order and get robbed, boy. You know how IGN gives a fan rating to any game. It doesn't matter if it's from After Peace or State of Crap. Even IGN this time said, we are done with you. They give it a 3 rating, which is double what the average Steam user gave it. But yeah, the studio probably had money in it, because you need to play a game to test it. Moving on to the next game, Forspoken. Or, I should say, shouldn't have spoken. Well, this game was sold like hell in the pre-order phase. Everyone was pre-ordering like, hey, we want to play this game. Even though we know that a digital game will never come out, we're still going to pre-order. And when the game was released, we can say that people were messed up. Again, glitches, bad stories, and stupid dialogue. But unlike other games that were unanimously bashed by people, Forspoken had a guild. This guild consisted of highly qualified video game journalists hired by Square Enix to defend their precious game. And they were basically saying, hey, stop bashing Forspoken, buy it, and give Square Enix $70 for a game you don't even like, because we as gamers should support underrated games like this. It actually made about scanning, but yeah, support underrated and small developers, and don't hate just because of the protagonist. Blah blah blah. But hey, remember, it's Square Enix. They're going to release more patches to fix the game slightly, but they will never reduce the price. This game still sells for $70, and for comparison, you can buy Donkey Kong for a lower price. So why shouldn't you buy it? But, these are some of the recent examples. Let's go back to the pioneer of unfinished, terrible money laundering games, which is 2006's Sonic the Hedgehog. And oh boy, if you haven't played this game, you should, if you want to know what a bad game looks like. But this game has that energy. The studio gave the developers a 1-week deadline to make the game. Like, hey, just do it quickly. We want to label it Sonic the Hedgehog and sell it like crazy. It did sell like crazy because people weren't aware of the mess. Everything is terrible about this game. The story is just dumb. Well, yeah, you do not expect a good story from a Sonic game, but still, it's even low for their standards, and the graphics are worse than in 8-bit games. But you know how good Sonic is at controlling damage. So this game did not affect very much the future of Sonic because they have a ton of characters. They can all definitely be spin-off series. Like, hey, don't you want to play Sonic? Well, why don't you play Sonic's Evil Red version? So these were some of my picks from the vast ocean of unfinished, overpriced games. And there can be many parts made from this particular topic, but there are different ways I will make them. I always try to do something different and unique. So, if you enjoyed this video, you can do me a favor by subscribing to the channel, because only like 5% of the people are subscribed. Well, actually, the number is about 3%. You know what to do. It really means a lot. And once again, thanks for watching. I'll definitely see you in the next video. Till then, take care.